Video time. What am I doing? I'm working on the rustiest Toyota pickup truck. It's not at the bottom of the ocean or under the crusher of a junkyard. Oh man, my buddy bought this truck. I think I showed it to you. What a mistake. Rotted junk. It missed the 12-year Toyota warranty, which is I think why they sold it to my friend. And when he called up, they must have figured, wow, what a sucker. Oops. I'm not showing you the video to show you the Toyota and how rusty it is. I'm going to show you something else. Once I close off this torch and soak the bolt with freezing cold water. Sure was hot yesterday, 92 degrees, 30 Celsius, is that what it is? It was hot, stinking hot. I love it. I had to show a house for rent. Person didn't show up, stayed late at work. Tenant showed up, wants his security deposit back. I already heated that bolt up once. This one came off with my fingers. It wasn't even tight. This one doesn't want to let go. So the trick is you heat it up red hot, then you cool it right down. And the shock, 99% of the time, releases the rust. These are really short bolts, and the inside of them wasn't rusty. I've already taken off the other side, but I wanted to show you something else. I had my buddy Rich, the Pontiac guy, on the phone this morning. I'm trying to figure out what's wrong with this Toyota RusTundra, why the heater control is dead. And I pulled out the relay and we played around, and I'm no 12-volt guy. There's the relay. I opened the cover up. It looks like brand spanking new inside. And we ran a jumper wire over to the inside, and I got the fan working. And I think what's wrong, my buddy Nick, my spicy buddy Nick, oops, I closed the door on that. That's not smart. Told me how to remove this control pot. There's 2 screws hidden in the vent, and there's 3 screws hidden behind the knob. So I couldn't figure it out, and I was going to take a giant crowbar and just pry it off, but he got it off for me. I think what the problem is, I bet you this thing here is blown up. There's a used one on eBay for $104. I wonder how much they cost at a pick apart. 20 bucks. And then my buddy with this truck, he just ordered some brand new backing plates from Toyota. And he says now that they got a corporate store in town, they don't even give you 10% off, which is hard to believe, but here's the old backing plate. And it's going to resemble the new one once I cut a slot in it to put it on. He also says, why don't you change the bearings? I looked them up on Rock Auto. They're pressed into the knuckle. They're not bolt-on bearings like everything else modern, which is kind of a waste when you think you're throwing away an entire hub assembly, but these are pressed in. Maybe 2 of them, one in the front, one in the back, I don't know. But they feel alright, but I want to take this whole thing apart and put 2 bearings in when these may be good. He's driving this thing to Mexico in October. I've got to put a couple of bushings in here, but that's easy. I'm going to take this thing apart and press the bearings out. They're $55 each at Rock Auto, but that's not why I'm making this video. I got to heat this thing up again because I'm going to snap that bolt off, and all it does, oop, there it goes. All it does is hold on the backing plates. If I miss one, it won't matter because look how rusty this thing is. I'm going to cut the slot in it here and slide it on and weld it back together, and maybe I won't. I want to show you something else in a second. It seems to be coming loose. Maybe I'll get up some Croyle or PB Blaster and it'll work like magic and take all the rust away. Somebody suggested I paint the frame on the new turbo diesel, which we haven't figured out a name for it yet. And the woman called up with my Mercedes that I bought here. Look at this nice Mercedes I bought 6 months ago at the end of winter. It's a 2012 convertible. The reason it's sitting here under a tarp is because it's junk. It was wrecked left front, and someone put a whole bunch of cheap replacement parts on, did a really miserable paint job, and sent it off to the auction with no lower radiator hose and all kinds of parts missing and a bolt missing from the suspension, and the tie rod's not tightened, and someone bought it thinking this thing was ready to rock and roll. Anyhow, hopefully they'll find the title. I'll pay for it. And one more piece of junk in the yard. It's scheduled for a 2019 airbag recall. By the time it gets put back together, tires are flat, they're all cracked, that thing's sitting. I found another one right near Cape Cod in, oh geez, where was it? Hang on a second. In Fall River, Route 24, exit 10. Some guy's got the same truck as that. Mechanical injection with a crate motor. He pulled the starter and the windshield wiper motor off, They want $375 for the T-Ruck. Ran when parked. No starter on it. Hope the bolt bosses aren't busted off on the block. What else am I going to show you today? I brought this to the body shop to have the right rear quarter panel repaired, and this is what ended up happening. The guy painted it, color didn't quite match, and I got a guest in my parking lot. No idea who this is. Not a clue. Just making a U-turn in my parking lot. Thank you. Anyhow, I went to the body shop after he worked on it for a few days, and as soon as I pulled in, I said, I wish I wouldn't have turned it into the body shop, because I had a dent over here before I bought it, and body shops are supposed to make things better. Well, the dent is still there, and it's really hard to see in a YouTube video, but the body line still droops right there. And then it had some damage here on this corner from before. Well, he just painted right over it. It's got all kinds of goofy, you can't really see it here because there's no sun, there's no shadows, but trust me, this is goofy work. And there's supposed to be a seam here. He just bonded over it and half bonded over it. He painted my cove silver, but he left some damage here. There's a bit of crap in the paint. All in all, I was really PO'd. I had a really hard couple days at work, really bad, and let him have it. I said I shouldn't have touched it. Should have just left it alone. And he also painted the rear air grill, which was all banged up, as they always are because they hang down so low, and he just painted right over the damage. I know it's hard to see, but you'll have to trust me. He just painted right over the damage. So I was totally PO'd. I let him have it. I said, I'm just gonna take this thing away from here. You've made this thing worse. I should have just left it alone. Oh, that car's not leaving the yard until it's paid for. I said, what'd you do to my car? All full of overspray in the engine compartment. And look at the color match here. We know it's an old car and the color is not quite right, but that is 2 or 3 shades off. Just half-assed. I really was so PO'd. Anyways, look at the color here. It's a different color. I'm not sure if you can pick that up. They blended the door over here, and it's a different color. Just buggered up. There's not much light now, but if you look down the side, there's a few spots. There's little defects in the paint. Just look at this. You can see the, hang on a second. You can see the Bondo that he applied. That's Bondo, or whatever that is. This is vocation class in school or Mako on a bad day. This is terrible. There's a little blemish over here. There's some little mark. I know the phone doesn't pick it up, but it's a different color. It's a different color. So, he called me back last night. Look at this. I removed the antenna. I loosened it so he could paint underneath it. He didn't paint underneath it. This is so bad. Anyways, he called me back last night. I didn't answer the phone. I figured he butt dialed me. He called me again this morning. He says, come and get your $300. He charged me $600 for this, which I thought was cheap, but I said, I wanted a good job. Oh, that would have cost more. Well, why didn't you tell me? Why didn't we have this discussion? You're the body guy. You can see it looks like shadow, but it's not. It's body work that hasn't been done. Total third-rate, third-world country, fourth-world country. I don't know. Maybe they do a better job in Mexico. A buddy of mine said he has cars painted in Mexico, and I've seen them. They look real good. $1,000 paint a whole 4Runner. Anyways, he called me and says, come get your $300. I can't take your money. I didn't do a good job and I feel bad, and you can come get your $300. So maybe I'll go get my $300. And the reason I'm making this video, which is already 9 minutes long, is because look what I just bought. Another junker. Went to the car auction. I needed a crappy commuter car at the time. I was in a situation. And I bought this 65,000 mile G5, otherwise known as a Chevy Cobalt, with an Ecotec 2.2 liter, and the battery was weak, so I'm charging her up. It's got one new headlight and one not so new headlight. So yeah, I bought this thing, and what makes it kind of interesting, if you can call a cheap pizza delivery vehicle interesting, is the dirty interior that smells of cigarettes and all the salt stains, but it's got a 5-speed with a peeling chrome shift knob, and she runs and drives great, and the air conditioning is ice cold, and it's got good bagels. Tires are nice Nordic Goodyear ice radials. It drives real nice. It had one burned out light bulb, and leave it to GM to make things confusing. It's got 2 Phillips screws here, but the Japanese have a little pin that pops in here. But GM put a 10mm nut on the inside, so you got to use tools. A screwdriver, they could have used a wing nut or a clip-on system that snaps when it gets old, but the real reason I was showing you this is because after 10 minutes and 43 seconds, I wanted to put air in the spare tire, so for some reason they store it upside down. Look at that, here's the battery, and here's the overflow tube. There's a recall for you right there. I wanted to put air in the spare tire. It feels a little soft, so I went to remove the wing nut, the monster wing nut, and this reminds me of a car my sister bought back in 1983 or 84. She had a 79 Camaro. She bought brand new, 6-cylinder, light blue interior. She brought the car home, she ordered it, and closes the door, and the door handle falls off. It wasn't clipped on. Then she bought an 84 Camaro. She wanted to buy a Firebird, but the dealer talked her out of it, said that the Firebird headlights don't close or don't open, the retractable headlights. Anyhow, so I went to take off this giant wing nut, and it took me about a half an hour, 30 minutes to get off the wing nut, much like the spare tire jack on her Camaro that was over here. And they had the cover on it, nice plastic cover with big screw slots. We needed a monster screwdriver to get those things loose. It was so tight. It was tight. So here we are. That was what, 1984, 94, 2004, 2008. 25 years later, I buy this G, whatever it is, G5, and the screw here is so rusty that even after I wire brushed it and sprayed it with silicone spray, I could barely get the wing nut off. I was struggling. Look at this. It's so tight and it's so rusty. It is corroded. Where is it? There it is. If I put a pair of pliers on it, all I'm going to do is break it off. There we go. This makes me think of the Dodge Caravan spare tire they stash underneath the vehicle. And you undo a screw thing in the floor and the tire drops, and you take the crank rod and it's got a hook on the end, and you grab the cable and you pull the spare tire towards you. It's pretty crazy. So this thing only threads on at the bottom because they've got a double studded thread. Who thought about that? Some overpriced engineer. So all that work to take out this jack, which has lots of nice blue grease on 2/3 of the thread. Never been used. Made in Canada, eh? Look at that. Nice jack. But why did they put some grease on these threads? They give you a monster wing nut, but look at the rust on it. Yep. Now, 30 minutes later, I can take out the spare tire with the valve on the bottom. Crank that baby up. Speaking of Mexican paint jobs. So now I can check the tire pressure. If they're going to put the tire upside down, why not just make 2 valve holes and put a valve on the outside? As long as they're using an American rubber valve that lasts 100 years, who cares? Check out this also. So I got that done. Here's the battery, and it cranked real slow. This thing had been sitting for a good 3-4 weeks, or some amount of time at the car auction where I bought it, and she's rusty. Trust me. My buddy says, oh, rockers are only $30 each. And who's going to install them? Underneath, not too bad. But it's not what I wanted, but I needed it. So, I have to do it. Come check out this crappy rubber. You want to be on YouTube, you're standing in the right place.
Maybe if you were, instead of making movies, just doing the work, you'd get things done.
You better watch it. I'm going to go over there with my claws, my raccoon claws, and scratch that beautiful Mexican Maestro paint job.
Did you...
I like your new shoes. What happened? You step in some paint?
By the way, I got the paint off with some acetone.
Check this out. This air filter is 2012. 2005? 05?
It's not very bad.
2012? Well,
yeah, but you need a new one.
Yeah, but look at the rubber. The rubber, made in Korea, the rubber's dried out. It's all mush.
Yeah, you need a new one anyway. It's dirty as
Right, but the rubber from GM on my T-Rux is 50 years old, 35 years old. The rubber's in better shape than this thing that's led a sheltered
real
life.
rubber. It's not made out of used condoms.
Check out the paint job on my buddy's 4Runner. He had this painted last year in Mexico.
2 years ago.
2 years ago for $1,000.
No, actually $980.
$980. Yeah, well, $20. Give him a
Down,
tip. Give him
down
some
to
tequila.
metal. Down to metal. A
Look at
little
this.
body work done. German paint.
This is
3
beautiful.
coats of primer.
And this thing
3
lives
coats of
outside.
paint.
It lives outside in the summer and in Mexico in the winter. And I'm just showing these people on YouTube the disaster on my car, which is just third-rate, fourth. I wouldn't even call it from an undeveloped country because Mexico is an undeveloped country according
No,
to.
it's not undeveloped. It's the 10th largest economy in the world.
Really?
Soon to be the 8th largest economy in the world.
Oh, I wish they could see this.
150 million people, same population.
Yeah, but
as the
population
United
because
States
they're
when I
using
was a
condoms
kid.
with holes in them.
When I was a kid.
Anyways, this
No,
is a
that's
crappy
in
paint
Korea.
job.
That's in South Korea.
and this thing needs. So I'm thinking of driving this thing to the body shop and telling the guy, listen, instead of giving me back the $300, just take some newspaper and just stuff it in and just go over it. And anyhow, this thing runs all right. We bought it cheap. We're gonna go buying things at the dealer auction, I think, and that's what I'll be driving for a little bit. 65,000 mile G5 Chevy Cobalt with a sunroof, and winter's coming soon. I gotta fix this thing, and I gotta fix that thing, and I gotta put that away, and I might be selling that K5 Blazer. I got a customer for it. He wants a bunch of repairs, and off we go to Mexico to have the Suburban painted because Pisser ain't doing it.